What's going on, Twitch and YouTube? Welcome to Starship Evo Builds, Episode 8 of the U.S.S. Revengeance. I'm Zero Elite, and I just want to thank you very much for tuning in today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and helping me in supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough for that. Today we have about a 31-minute video. We're going to be getting some work done on the saucer section of the Revengeance as well as the front section of the lower hull. Started working on the hull shape of the saucer section in episode 7 at the very end. We just really didn't have enough time to get very far in it. So today we're really going to be giving it a 3D shape instead of it just being a plain flat object. And we're primarily going to be using two blocks, the square block, or excuse me, the triangle block, and then the slope triangle block. And between those two blocks, you'd be surprised we'll be able to get some really cool looking curvature here. And without further ado, we're just going to jump right into it without dragging this on any further than it needs to be. You can see I'm starting with the triangle, I'm just bringing it back, and now I'm going with the cut and the hull. And you see how I'm measuring that up, just bringing it as far out until it is flush with the actual hull. That one was actually messed up because you could see it hanging over just a little bit. There we go. You can see, of course, I've got my symmetry tool already activated, so whatever we do on the left side, it's going to do automatically for us on the right side. Now we're just going to use the regular slope in the front to slope it out. I think that'll look pretty cool. Yeah, I'm not really going off of any set design for this. I'm really just winging it and trying to come up with something that looks cool. I loosely referenced the Cylon Raider, how I did the wings when I was doing this, because it kind of reminded me a little bit of a stealth fighter. And I didn't copy it by any means, but I use a lot of the same building technique with that I'm doing right here, and using the same blocks to get a similar shape by stretching them out in this manner, going along with the hull. And it surprisingly looks really good. I mean, it looks, when we have a lot of this done and you see it, it's going to look a lot like a stealth fighter, believe it or not. So you can see we've done top side, and to make this easy on ourselves, we're going to do the same thing on the bottom side. Because I don't think anyone would really want to see just a completely flat surface here. And this is my first attempt at doing a saucer like this. And I got to be honest, I was surprised with how it came out. It came out actually really good. And I actually full on intend to make a starship with a near perfect circle. I've done the research for it. I've even got the tutorial for it. I've been meaning to put that up, and because I've had a couple of people ask me for it, and I will. Um, but yeah, I've just been kind of waiting to see what other ships I want to build on Starship Evo. I actually built quite a few builds on here in a really short period of time. Actually, between building the NX-01, the Bird of Prey, to the Eagle 5, the Cylon Raider, Optimus Prime. Then there was one or two other ones that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but like I think there were like at least 8 builds that I did that I just churned out week to week. Um, and they came out surprisingly well, and they did well on YouTube also. But I've just been kind of waiting also, to see what the community wants to see too. So if there's some ships that you would like to see me build in Starship Evo, drop a comment below. I most of the builds that I do on my YouTube channel as well as Twitch um, have come from the community requests. So don't be afraid to give that suggestion, even if it's something maybe I don't do right away. Maybe down the road, like if I get enough people asking for it, I might just end up doing the build. You really never know. Because that has happened in the past with the other ships. Like that was one of the reasons why I built the original Discovery, because just over a period of time, I just had so many people asking me for it, and I look at the comment section. So if I don't respond to your comment, I'm saving it for a later time so I can check that with the other comments that I've gotten from people. So usually, like, I'll like it, but I won't respond to it for that reason. So this way, it doesn't go away from my feed on YouTube. But anyway, yeah, definitely keep those suggestions coming because I'm probably going to be getting on here in the next 2 weeks or so, maybe, to get a build going. I've got to actually wrap up what I'm doing on my Cerritos to get the rest of that captured. But once I do, then I'm going to be hopping over to Starship Evo to work on something. I'm actually kind of leaning towards doing the Batwing from the Batman '89 movie. I mentioned that one time in another video. I haven't had anybody say anything like, "Oh yeah, that would be cool." That's just kind of what I'm thinking. It might end up being a good video and a cool build. But if you'd be down for that, let me know. If not, let me know what else you would like to see, or what other starship you would like to see me build. That seems to be my number one request between Starship Evo and Minecraft. I get a lot of Federation ship requests, and I don't mind that at all. All right, so you can see now we're catching up with the back end. I actually had to delete right there just a little bit just so I can get this all to flesh in correctly. And I'm going to have to work on that back corner there, but we will get into that. At this point, we're just worried about the outline of this thing. Because once we get the outline right, the middle of this is really it's going to be relatively easy to fill in. So you can see I've switched to the sloped triangle block instead of just a regular triangle block. I'm using that to fill in because that has the perfect angles there to match that up. We just have to manipulate it to get that right shape. And I'm literally just warping it out, and I'm looking at what the angle is going to end up as, and that's why I'm coming out with that determination to put it right there. Not really hard to do the block placement on here. It's relatively easy and surprisingly very user friendly. I can't wait for them to add more stuff on this game. I know in the beta they had a lot of really cool stuff on here, like with mechs and whatnot. So I'm very curious to see what they add in the future. And I'm excited to really start getting into some builds on here because I've done some cool builds, but I don't think I've really um, got into the builds on the level like I have in Minecraft just yet. And I've done that actually on purpose because um, I've worked my way back up to big ships actually on here because I started off relatively big with a NX-01, and then from there I went really small and then worked my way back up to a bigger ship. And probably from here I'll do an even larger one, unless I end up doing the Batwing. In that case, it'll be another small build, but you never know. By the time I get around to that point, it might be feeling something else. That's why I really don't want to say for sure what ship or what build I'm going to be doing next on Starship Evo. But the videos are definitely going to keep coming. If you've been enjoying the U.S.S. Revengeance videos, let me know in the comments section. Hit that like and subscribe button. Definitely appreciate it. Seems like I've gotten some very positive responses in the comments section and a ton of views, and I definitely appreciate all of that because I really threw this ship together with a bunch of hodgepodge ideas, and it just, I don't know, it surprisingly worked. It's a very cool, stealthy looking fighter ship. I was somebody I was talking to in the comments section was pretty cool, and they're telling me about how the PvP on here is, how you can really just jump right into it, and I think that's pretty cool. And like I've been looking to get into that stuff, but like I said, I've just kind of been waiting for them to do one or two major updates. Like really, what I'm waiting for is like being able to explore worlds and hostable servers. That would be a good start, and at that point, I'll probably end up getting one of my own servers for Starship Evo and really start getting into the game. But it has a ton of potential, and I can't wait to see what's to come with this game. I mean, I was so surprised with this build. I mean, I've said it 100 times. I get tired of it after a while. Like, I really wasn't expecting anything out of it when I started working on the Revengeance. But believe it or not, this was actually a community submitted request. Somebody told me that I should just build something that I used to build from my childhood when I built with Legos. And I kind of twisted it a little bit because you know what I used to do when I was young. You know, I had Legos, but my dad used to get me all the models from Star Trek. Like I had all of them. So you know, like when I was with my dad on the weekends and he'd be working, I usually just be hanging out and like I put a model together. And those things aren't very durable, especially when you're a kid. You kind of just go right through them and they break apart. So that being said, I had like 150 model parts, and what I would do is like just kind of hodgepodge, put pieces together, and like make up my own ships. And that's really a lot of what I did here with this ship. Like it's really several ideas. Like it's got the DNA obviously of the Vengeance in it, but it's still like it's got a little bit of the Constitution class. It's got a little bit of Sovereign class, Enterprise E. It's got a little bit of Riker's ship from Star Trek Picard. I forget what class it is. I think it's a Crossfield, but I think I got that wrong. Um, or Curiosity. It's one of those. Um, but I know that it was the ship that Riker had in Picard because I used that as a reference. And just also the Section 31 ships from Discovery. That was another thing too. Like the engines, like even though it kind of looks like the engines in the Enterprise A. At the same time, like I really referenced the engines from the Section 31 ships from Discovery, which just happened to look like the engines from the Enterprise A. So it just kind of worked out that way. But I think you can do cool things like this. Like have like certain hodgepodge, like take an idea from this, take an idea from that, and kind of like throw them together. And you never know. I mean, hey, if there's another, mashup that you would like to see me do, let me know in the comments section. You never know, might just end up doing it. So the question would be, what mashups would you like to see me build? If I could, if you could see me mash up any ships together with, of course, uh, an amount that's manageable, what would you like to see? Let me know. You can see I'm having a little bit of trouble right here. But what I'm trying to do right now is go back to the basics of what I started with and going along with triangle block, trying to make out the hull. And I'm going to see if I can fix it that way. And I kind of can. I have to work on that corner right there. Um, but it's kind of coming together. That may or may not work. I don't know. That's not going to work because you can see the lip. From what I remember when I built this thing, this area right here was a little bit tricky to get it right. It took a couple of times um, placing blocks down in different angles, in different dimensions to try to get it to where I wanted to land. And I mentioned, I dropped a shout out to them when I did my live streams earlier, but I wanted to make a point to do it for my actual YouTube channel. I wanted to drop a shout out to Deathlock the Demolisher. Thank you very much for subscribing or following me, I should say, on Twitch. Definitely appreciate that. And if you are on YouTube watching this, don't forget you can always follow me on twitch.tv/Zero Elite. You can always catch my new Twitch stream Sundays through Thursday nights live, typically between 9 and 10 p.m. Eastern. You can also catch me doing live streams intermittently at different times in between then. It just really depends on, what time I'm able to get on. Um, but I got on a couple of times this weekend. I saw a couple of people were hanging out with me when I was doing the build, which was pretty cool, and got some stuff done. Started working on engineering and cleaning up the interior to start adding in rooms and getting in a lot more detail on the saucer section on the Cerritos. It's definitely coming out pretty good. Be sure to tune in tomorrow, Tuesday, for the next episode in the Cerritos build. Got a lot of stuff to do, and if you followed me through that tutorial so far, we've really only scratched the surface. We're going to get a ton of detail in this ship, really try to bring this thing to life as much as we can, as much in the same way like I did with the Discovery Enterprise. And you're also going to see me do that with the Revengeance as well. Now, the interior on the Revengeance, when we get into it, it's not going to be as elaborate as the Cerritos or some other Federation ships. Um, and that was for a couple of reasons. For one, this was the biggest interior I've done on this game so far. And two, I haven't quite figured out turbo lifts on here. And I've said it a couple of times, I've got the file um, for the turbo lifts that somebody was nice enough to upload on Steam. I just haven't been on the game to check it out lately. But that's only because I've had just a lot of stuff going on between work on servers that I do, and then also, of course, between the YouTube channel and then some other things. But no, I definitely plan on getting back on there very soon. Because this is a super fun game. Because I can honestly say, there's really only like well, 4 builder games that I have right now. I play a lot of Minecraft and I play Starship Evo, of course, but then I also play Ark Survival Evolved and then Planet Coaster as well. I do building on there. Um, but the only reason I haven't done any videos on either of those games, because it seems like everybody has been into these more, and there's a lot of YouTubers out there for Ark. And there's a lot of YouTubers out there for Planet Coaster, but that game's a little bit older. Now, if they release a Planet Coaster 2, that might be a different story. Then I might actually get into that. But you never know. If I have people asking me for it, I might actually do some videos on it. Because I do have my park on there, my custom parks that I've done. But you can see we are rocking and rolling here. You can see I'm just going with the cut, the pattern that we have pre-existing, and trying to get that all to line up. As long as you stick within that rule, it's going to be kind of hard to make a mistake here. And it'll be a little bit easier also to fill in the center. There we go. Yeah, see, that looks good. It's kind of hard to see in the dark because it's dark on the other side, but when I click on it, you can see the angle that it's making is very, very sharp. How we doing? We've already gone through the first 18 minutes. We got about 13 minutes left in this episode. Still got some stuff to do on the saucer, and we're going to do a couple of things on the lower hull, if I'm not mistaken. So you can see now we're just filling in the middle, which is the square blocks. At this point, it's easy. Hardest part has been done, which is filling in the sides and getting those curves right. Which, as you saw, can take a couple attempts just to get it right. But I tell you, it's worth it. Take your time with it and just keep playing with the different angles until you get it to match up. I mean, that's really the best way I can describe it. I apologize if I'm not being more specific with it, but I mean, I think that pretty much sums up what you're going to be doing. But if you also want to get a gauge and a good idea of what you're going to be getting yourself into if you want to do something similar like this, you can download this ship on Steam on the workshop. Just go on the workshop for Starship Evo and search the U.S.S. Revengeance or Zero Elite, or you can also search, or excuse me, go in the description below. There should be a link. You can download this build right now if you want to see what the finished ship looks like. It's already been completed, interior included. Very proud of this ship. All things considered, that I've only done a couple of builds on here. This thing came out awesome. Since I've been building on here, actually, I've only had one build that I've walked away from. And ironically enough, it was the Revengeance. I had started the tutorial, um, and long story short, I started it in a different process in which I normally build my ships, and it just didn't. It wasn't coming out right. And very quickly, I just axed it and just decided to start over again and stick to what I know and do it in the order that I know how to build ships from playing Minecraft, and it just kind of worked out. This angle here is going to be a little bit tricky, but as you can see there, because of that angle, it's going to take a little bit of finagling. I don't know if I'm willing to mess with it just at this point, but got enough of it done that you can really start to see the curvature that this thing is taking shape, and you can see what I mean. Like, it's just the angles, like the way that the lines look. It has such a stealthy look on it. I love it. It's perfect, and it I think it excellently suits the feel that I was trying to get when I built this ship. The one and only downside out of this ship that I'm not happy about was that you can't really go into the saucer section, and that just ultimately comes down to the scale of this thing. If I had made it bigger, that wouldn't have been a problem, and we would have been able to go into the saucer. But I made it just a little bit too small, so that became, not an option. At least building it within the thickness that it currently is and the hull pattern it is. If I would have made it thicker, and done a different pattern on the hull, I would have been able to do it. But that was really a big factor in it because of the way that my hull looks and the way that I built it. I really sacrificed a lot of room doing it that way. But that's okay because, a lot of that, is really just for show. And you can get away with doing stuff like that sometimes. You shouldn't feel, restricted to doing just one thing one way. Try different things. And that was just the case here. I just started thinking, I'm like, man, I'm not. I really want to build it this way, but I don't think I'll be able to do exactly what I want. So you know what? Eff it. I'm just gonna facade it out. And what I mean by that is build out a piece and make it look like it's usable, but it's an empty shell. And ironically or not, I learned how to do stuff like that from playing Planet Coaster, and I do that from time to time now when I play both Starship Evo and Minecraft. Sometimes I don't intend on building something all the way. I'll definitely just facade it out, make it to give the impression that it is. So we're going to add some weapons on these vents on the sides. This thing's definitely going to have some weaponry on it, and if you're doing that whole PvP thing, I mean, this thing's got some guns. All right, now that I figured out which one I wanted to use, we can continue on here. I'm not sure how well this thing would do in a fight because I didn't necessarily build it to do PvP. But with that being said, it does have everything that you would technically need to do it. It's got more than enough firepower. It's got shields, and it's got the power. It should have more than enough power to sustain itself in a fight. So if that's something you're looking to get yourself into, Vengeance would not be a bad ship to do it in. Or the Revengeance. Can't believe I called this thing the Vengeance because it's not. Now, I know that I'm not going to settle on the format in which I currently have those weapons in. I'm going to be making some changes to them. I'm going to spruce them up a little bit, make them look a little bit nicer. But that's at least the idea of what I'm going for. I want to add a ton of guns on the sides, but I want to see if I can make something that looks maybe a little bit nicer than just throwing it down a whole bunch of them and praying for the best. One thing that's set me back right here at this point is that I kind of have it in my head that I want to do something kind of sort of like how the weapons bay is on the Vengeance, but kind of different too. But at the same time, I'm not looking at any pictures of the Vengeance at this point. I'm just going off the top of my head, thinking back to it. Um, Looking at a picture at this point wouldn't have been a bad thing. In fact, I always recommend looking at your reference material when building a ship. Um, but kind of what I'm getting at here is that I'm not exactly sure of what I want to do. So I just kind of threw a couple of blocks down, or excuse me, uh, basic pattern down to the guns, see if that looked good. It really didn't. It looked like it was thrown on there, to be honest with you, which was the main reason why I took it off. Another thing that I noticed is that my hull here, going along the deflector dish on the sides, it really doesn't have a heck of a lot of shape. It's very flat. So I want to see if I can just give a little bit of dimension to the lower hull right here. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. Um, and then we'll just smoothen it out on the sides. But I think that would actually look really nice rather than just being so flat. Because like if you think of a stealth fighter, um, you don't see any flat areas on it. It's always got that type of stealth curvature going all over. So I want to try to keep that going as much as we can on this ship. Yeah, see, that's looking good. That looks sexy. I don't know why I'm messing around at this point. Right here, I just can use just a regular block. Down here, I'll have to use an angled block. But I don't think I'm necessarily thinking about that in this video. I'm typically my own worst critic because I'll spot things, watching myself do it, of course not realizing that I'm doing it in the build. And now I've just realized that I can just use the regular blocks and just going to fill all this in going all the way up. Perfect. We got a tiny gap in the top row. Let's fill that in. We're going to need an angled block there. Nope, we need... I don't think that's going to... Well, that might work. I need the slope triangle block. That actually doesn't look too bad. Ooh, yeah. See that's where it's at. It just that is such a unique front end of the ship. I mean, the only thing you can compare it to is the Vengeance, but even then, like, it's still very different from the Vengeance. The only thing that you can compare it to is that it's got a thin deflector dish and it's got um, housing for the guns. But other than that, the overall shape of it and look is completely different. I'm just kind of looking at a different pattern there, maybe seeing if that would work. I don't know though. You have to try a couple of different things there, but that doesn't look bad. And I love the shape of that thing from the bottom. I mean, just at every angle, it's just really has some curvature that reminds me of like in the Constitution class or the Enterprise E. But then you look at it again, and then it's different. Man, this thing is coming out great. I love the progress that we're making, but we got to wrap this one up. We've already shot through 32 minutes, went by like it was nothing. But yeah, that's going to wrap us up. I just want to thank everybody again for tuning in today's episode. And if you did enjoy this content, please help me out. Hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. Can't thank you enough for that. Don't forget to follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/Zero Elite. You can always catch my new live stream Sundays through Thursdays, typically between 9 and 10 p.m. Eastern. Also, please be sure to follow me on YouTube at youtube.com/C/Zero Elite. You can always catch my new Starship Evo builds on Mondays and my new Minecraft videos Tuesdays through Fridays. Those videos typically drop at 10 a.m. Eastern. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for me. Just want to thank you all again for tuning in today's episode. I hope everybody has a happy and safe week, and I'll catch you on the next episode.